The mansion was almost dark. Only a few golden lights glowed along the long marble hallway. The rest of the house slept. But one person was still working. Sophia, the maid. Her shoes were worn. Her hands were tired. Her salary was small. But her work never ended. Tonight, Mrs. Green had given her a new order. "Clean the old room on the second floor," she had said. "Mr. King never goes there, but dust is collecting. Be careful. That room belonged to Mrs. Evelyn. And do not touch anything personal." Sophia nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Now she stood at the door of that room. Evelyn, the late wife of billionaire Robert King. The woman everyone talked about in whispers. The woman whose death changed the whole house. Sophia slowly turned the handle. The door opened with a soft creak. Inside, the air was still. It smelled like old perfume and closed windows. Dust lay on the furniture like a thin gray sheet. A big photo of Evelyn in her wedding dress hung on the wall, smiling softly. Sophia walked in on quiet feet. Her eyes stopped at a tall wooden wardrobe in the corner. She knew what was inside. Everyone in the house knew. Evelyn's wedding dress. The dress no one touched. The dress no one even looked at for too long. Sophia tried to focus on cleaning. She wiped the tables. She dusted the shelves. She fixed the curtains. But her eyes kept going back to that wardrobe. Her heart beat faster. "Don't even think about it," she told herself. "You're poor. You're replaceable. One mistake and you're out." She reached for her cleaning cloth, and by accident her fingers touched the wardrobe handle. It moved. The lock was open. Sophia froze. She looked at the door. Empty hallway. No one there. "Just 1 minute," she whispered to herself. "Just to see. I'll never get a chance like this again." Her hand shook as she slowly opened the wardrobe. The dress hung there. White. Soft. Glowing even in the dim light. Sophia reached out and pulled it gently towards her. She held it against her chest and looked in the mirror. In that moment, she did not look like a maid. She looked like a bride. A tear rolled down her cheek. And that was the exact moment the door burst open behind her. "What do you think you're doing?" a deep voice thundered. Sophia turned, shocked. Billionaire Robert King stood at the door, eyes full of rage, watching his poor maid holding his late wife's wedding dress. And just behind him, his teenage son Michael appeared in the hallway, ready to say something that would shock his father and change everything in this rich house. The house woke up early every day. Cooks shouted in the kitchen. Drivers checked the cars. Gardeners trimmed the grass into straight lines. Everything looked perfect from the outside. But inside, there was fear. Especially for people like Sophia. She pushed her cleaning cart through the hall, keeping her head low. She had only worked here for 3 months. She could not afford to lose this job. Her daughter Emma's school fees depended on it. On the wall, a huge picture of Evelyn hung in a gold frame. Evelyn in her wedding dress. White lace, soft veil, a bouquet in her hands. Her smile looked kind. Gentle. Sophia glanced at the photo for half a second. "She looks like an angel," she whispered. "Stop staring," Mrs. Green snapped, walking past. "You're not paid to daydream. Wipe the tables. And remember, the second floor is off limits unless I say so. Mr. King doesn't like staff near his memories." "Yes, ma'am," Sophia said. At that exact moment, Robert King walked down the stairs, phone to his ear. "I said fire him," he said coldly. "If he can't keep up, replace him. There are 100 poor people waiting for this job." Sophia heard every word. Have you ever heard someone speak about poor people like they are trash? It feels like a punch to the stomach. Robert ended the call and saw a tiny streak of dust on a side table. "Mrs. Green," he barked. "What am I paying them for if they can't even clean?" Mrs. Green pointed at Sophia. "She's on this side today, sir." Robert's eyes landed on Sophia. "If this place is not shining by lunch," he said, "you can go back to whatever slum you came from." "Understood." Sophia swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." Upstairs, Michael lay on his bed, scrolling social media. 16 years old. Rich. Lonely. He heard his father's voice from below. He heard Sophia's soft reply. He rolled his eyes. This was normal in his house. Once, he was kind. When his mother was alive, he would talk to the staff, play with their kids, laugh with them. But after Evelyn died, everything changed. Robert became colder. And he taught Michael something new. "Soft people get crushed," Robert told him often. "Staff are staff. Keep your distance." So Michael started copying his father. Later that day, Sophia was cleaning the glass table in the living room. Her back hurt. Her hands were sore. Her cloth slipped. A crystal decoration slid, fell, and shattered. Crash. The sound echoed through the room. Robert walked in right then. He looked at the broken pieces. Then, at Sophia. "Do you have any idea how much that cost?" he asked sharply. "I'm so sorry, sir. It was an accident." "One more accident, and you're fired," he snapped. "I don't keep careless people in my house." Behind him, Michael stood at the doorway, watching with cold eyes. He smirked slightly. "Be careful, Maid," he said softly. "People like you don't get second chances in houses like this." The words hurt more than the shouting. Sophia bent down, picked up the pieces, and held her tears back. She told herself, just get through today. She didn't know this same house would soon watch her holding the most forbidden thing in it. That evening, after dinner, the house became quiet. Robert left for a meeting. Staff moved more calmly when he was gone. The air felt lighter. Sophia washed the last set of dishes in the kitchen. Her shoulders ached. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A photo from home. Little Emma, sitting on the floor with a notebook. Her hair was tied in 2 tiny ponytails. She smiled at the camera. The message under the photo said, "Good night, Mama. I love you. Please don't be tired." Sophia smiled sadly. "I'm always tired, baby," she whispered. "But I'm trying." "Stop wasting time on your phone," Mrs. Green said, walking in. "There's more work. Mr. King wants Evelyn's old room opened for air tomorrow. You'll clean it." Sophia froze. "Mrs. Evelyn's room?" "Yes," Mrs. Green replied. "Just dust and open the windows. Don't touch her personal things. And for heaven's sake, stay away from the wardrobe. That wedding dress is worth more than your life." Sophia swallowed. "Yes, ma'am." All night, she thought about that room. About the photo in the hall. About the dress. About the way everyone talked about Evelyn, as if she was still alive in this house, but locked in one room. Next morning, Sophia climbed the stairs with her cleaning cart. The second floor always felt different. Quieter. Heavier. Like the air carried secrets. She stopped outside the last door. Evelyn's room. Sophia took a deep breath and turned the handle. The door opened. Inside, everything looked untouched. A thin layer of dust covered the furniture. A vase of dead flowers stood by the bed. The curtains were half closed, letting in soft light. On the wall, another big photo of Evelyn in her wedding dress. Sophia stared for a moment. She had never worn a wedding dress. Her own wedding had been a quick, cheap event. No photos. No music. The man she married left when Emma was small. She shook the memory away and started cleaning. She wiped the side tables. Dusted the lamp. Straightened the books on the shelf. Then she reached the corner. The wardrobe stood tall and quiet. She could almost feel it watching her. She remembered what Mrs. Green said. "Stay away from the wardrobe. That dress is worth more than your life." Sophia turned to leave. Her cloth slipped. It fell near the wardrobe's base. She bent to pick it up, and her hand brushed the wardrobe handle. It moved. Her heart jumped. She held the handle and felt it again. It was not locked. Sophia's breath became shallow. She looked at the door. No one there. Should she walk away? Or should she, for once in her life, touch something beautiful the world said was not for her? Her hand tightened on the handle. Slowly, shaking, she began to pull the wardrobe open. The wardrobe door creaked softly. Inside, only one thing hung in the center. The wedding dress. Wrapped in a clear cover, protected, but alone. Sophia stared. Her eyes filled with tears without her even knowing why. She stepped closer and slid the cover aside. The dress was even more beautiful up close. Soft white lace. Tiny pearls on the sleeves. A long, flowing skirt. It looked like it carried stories from another world. Her fingers trembled as she touched it. She suddenly remembered being a young girl, standing outside a bridal shop window, staring at dresses she could never buy. She remembered her ex-husband saying, "Why waste money on a dress? Simple is fine." She remembered giving up her dream without a word. "Just for a moment," she whispered. "No one will know." She carefully took the dress off the hanger and held it against her body. She walked slowly to the mirror. For the first time, she didn't see a tired maid with rough hands. She saw a woman. A woman who once had dreams. A woman who wanted to feel special at least once in her life. Sophia smiled through her tears. "Look at you," she said softly. "A billionaire's maid pretending to be a bride." She closed her eyes and imagined Emma holding her hand, laughing in a small wedding hall. She imagined music, flowers, happiness. For a few seconds, her poverty disappeared. She didn't hear the footsteps in the hallway. Michael walked by and noticed the half-open door. He stopped. He saw Sophia in the mirror, holding his mother's dress. Anger rose in his chest. How dare she touch Mom's dress? He took one step forward. Then he paused. He saw the tears on her face. The way she wasn't smiling proudly, but standing there like someone who had stolen a small piece of happiness and was scared to lose it. Michael stayed silent. He did not enter. He just watched, confused and torn. Downstairs, the front door opened. Robert had come back earlier than planned. His meeting had gone badly. He was angry. He needed control over something. Anything. He walked up the stairs, each step heavy. His feet, without thinking, led him to Evelyn's room. A place he avoided. A room full of pain. He put his hand on the door handle. Inside, Sophia still stood in front of the mirror, eyes closed, holding the dress to her chest. Robert opened the door. The sound made her jump. The dress slipped a little in her hands. Robert stopped. He saw his wife's dress. He saw the maid. His face went dark. "What?" he said slowly, voice full of ice. "Are you doing with my late wife's wedding dress?" Sophia's blood ran cold. And just outside, Michael watched, heart racing, as the moment exploded. Sophia's lips parted, but no sound came out. Robert stepped into the room, eyes burning. "Put it down," he said. His voice was low but dangerous. Sophia's hands shook as she tried to place the dress back on the hanger. The fabric almost slipped. She was terrified she would tear it. "I'm sorry, sir," she whispered. "The wardrobe was open, I was cleaning, I only looked for a second." "Cleaning?" Robert snapped. "Is this how you clean? By playing dress-up with my wife's memories?" Each word hit like a slap. In the hallway, a few staff members had gathered quietly. Mrs. Green stood behind the doorframe, eyes wide. "She touched the dress," one maid whispered. "She's finished." Robert walked closer to Sophia. "You people," he said with disgust, "are all the same. I give you work. I give you money. And you still want more. You want our clothes, our lifestyle, our life." Sophia shook her head, tears falling. "No, sir, I swear, I didn't mean." "Do you know how precious this dress is?" he shouted. "It belonged to my wife, the only woman I ever loved. And you think your poor hands belong anywhere near it?" I'm sorry," she repeated. "Please, don't fire me. My daughter." "I don't care about your daughter," Robert cut in. "You're fired. Pack your things and get out." The words tore her apart. Her knees almost gave way. Years of struggle flashed before her eyes. Emma's face. Rent. School bills. Medicine. Everything depended on this job. "Please," she sobbed. "I'll never come near this room again. I'll work double. I'll stay late. Just don't take my job." Robert's face stayed hard. "This is my house. My rules. You touched what is mine." "That is enough," he said. "Have you ever seen someone lose everything in one sentence?" That is what it felt like. In the hallway, most staff looked down. No one wanted to get involved. Except one. "Dad." Michael's voice came from the doorway, louder than before. "That's enough." Robert turned sharply. "This is not your concern. Go to your room." Michael walked inside the room. His feet were shaky, but he did not stop. "It is my concern," he said. "You're not just punishing her. You're punishing everyone for something that happened years ago." "Watch your tone," Robert warned. Sophia stood frozen, clutching the hanger, eyes red, breathing hard. Robert glared at his son. "She touched your mother's dress. She crossed a line." Michael looked at the dress, then at Sophia, then back at his father. And then he said something that made the whole room go silent. "If you fire her today," he said, voice steady, "I leave this house with her." Robert stared at Michael, stunned. "What did you just say?" he asked quietly. "You heard me," Michael replied. "If you fire her for touching Mom's dress, I'll pack my things and go." Everyone in the hallway gasped. Sophia shook her head. "No, sir, please don't do that for me." Michael looked at her gently. "You didn't do anything to deserve this." He turned back to his father. "Dad, this is the first time I've seen Mom's dress on someone who actually reminds me of her." Robert frowned. "Reminds you of her? How?" "Mom was kind," Michael said. "She cared about people like Sophia. She knew their names. She cared about their families. She helped them. She never talked about them like they were trash." Robert looked away, jaw tight. "You think Mom would want her dress locked in a dark wardrobe, making everyone scared?" Michael continued. "You're the one turning her memory into a museum. Not honoring her. Hiding her." His voice shook, but he didn't stop. "You lost Mom, and it hurt. I get it. But you started hurting everyone else too. You turned cold. You taught me to be cold. And now you're throwing a woman out because she wanted to feel beautiful for 1 minute." There was a long, heavy silence. Have you ever seen someone speak truth to power and not step back? Michael took a breath. "If you fire her," he said softly, "you lose me too. I won't live in a house where a dress is treated better than a human being." Sophia covered her mouth, tears pouring down. "Please, Mr. King, don't fight because of me." Robert looked at his son, at Sophia, at the dress. For the first time in a long time, his eyes filled with tears. He saw his dead wife's face in his mind. What would Evelyn say right now? Would she shout at the maid? Or would she smile and say, "It's just a dress"? Robert closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his voice was different. Tired. Softer. "You're not fired," he said to Sophia. She stared at him. "Sir." "You keep your job," he repeated. "I overreacted." He swallowed hard and looked at the dress. "And, if you want, on your day off, you can wear it. Properly. In the garden. With your daughter. Just for a few minutes. Michael can take a photo." Sophia froze. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that for me?" Robert looked at Evelyn's picture on the wall. "Because my wife would have," he said quietly. "And because my son is right. I've been holding on to pain, not to her love." Michael let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. A small, sad smile appeared on his face. Later, on a quiet Sunday, Sophia stood in the garden wearing the dress. Emma held her hand in a small white dress Robert had bought. Michael took their photo with a gentle smile. Robert watched from the balcony. For the first time in years, the dress did not feel like a prison of memories. It felt like a bridge. Between rich and poor. Between father and son. Between power and kindness. If you had something very precious from a loved one who passed away, would you lock it away forever, or share it in a way that could heal someone else's heart? Tell me in the comments, what would you have done with that wedding dress? Dress speech balloon. Thinking.